Welcome to Home Dad Chat, brought to you by the National At-Home Dad Network. My name is Brock.
My name is Danny.
And we are here to talk about life as stay-at-home dads. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
No, I don't want much. I even love handmade crafts made of macaroni. Come on now, you should know me. Times I might eat too much. Don't worry about my weight, got the dad bod rocking on me. Sketches on my feet, cargo shorts look good on me. I'm a dad, that's what I do.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Home Dad Chat. I am Brock, one of your hosts. I've got Danny with me. How you doing, Danny?
What's up? I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. And, I'm ready for my road trip now. I'm going to get my hitch put on my car. So after all that chaos.
Yeah, it took what, 3 weeks? About 4 weeks to get it done. Yeah,
forever. So thank you to U-Haul. Go to my neighborhood mechanic to get it put on. So yeah, no, things are good, man. How was your week?
It's been great. We've, we're winding down. I think next Wednesday is a half day, the last day of school for this year. So the kids are really, especially the little kids, are just going crazy. They're doing all sorts of things. Every other day they bring home some sort of plant or a cup full of dirt, because they didn't do a lot of agriculture stuff this year, or a couple of seeds and like a wet paper towel, and they all bring them in like, Dad, look. I'm like, oh, great, another cup of dirt in my brand new Suburban. Bring it on. Let's do this. It's got to get dirty sometime, right? So we have 4 different baggies with a wet paper towel in them with some sort of like lima bean seed or something like that taped to the kitchen window. So we're truly, investing ourselves in the agriculture of our world.
Hey man, it's cool just trying to make you sustainable for the summer.
Right? Yeah, get me ready. Get my garden going. So
very cool. Well, you can take all kinds of pictures of them when they grow. And that kind of falls in line with what we're doing tonight. So so tonight we're going to talk about photography, which I'm really excited about because I'm going to be taking boatloads of pictures while I'm out on my 5,000-mile road trip for 2 weeks. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm headed out to the Pacific Northwest, hoping to take pictures of different national parks, hopefully get a picture of a humpback whale. We'll see. Definitely bison and elk and all that jazz will be around. So
very cool.
Yeah, probably drive through the Badlands and along the way. It'll be a lot of fun. But we brought Austin Dowd and Brett Landry on the show with us today to just talk about all kinds of photography. Austin is, I believe, you're a professional photographer. You've got your own business now, is that right?
I now work in digital marketing, and so my business stuff is side hustle area, which is non-paying right now.
Okay. I feel like that's a lot of photographers sometimes.
Yeah. Nah, like I was trying to get off the ground with a commercial business when the pandemic hit, so reinvent myself, and now I work like basically at this desk 40 hours a week, which is nice because the kids are right behind me most of the day, and we still get to have some of that at-home dad flexibility with it. So
that's nice. Awesome, man. That's great. And Brett, what's your story about photography for you right now?
So right now, I shoot real estate for an agent occasionally. I should shoot more, I guess, but I have one agent and she doesn't always get houses. I also shoot running races and marathons. Last year, all of that was canceled. So I do enough to try to make a little bit of money to buy more equipment. That's the name of the game. And beyond that, I'm just trying to have fun with it. The kids have really made photography kind of like push back a little bit. But thinking about your road trip, my big thing lately has been the night sky. And going out to the Pacific Northwest, that's a big chance to try to get the Milky Way or something. I would love to see what you could do.
I'm looking to get some good shots. We'll see. I've got a Nikon D3000 and I'm gonna see what all I can pull off of it. I'm gonna try to hopefully have some room to throw my tripod in there, so I've got a little bit of stability to really grab up some nice pictures. But yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, I was going to make a joke about the fact you're saying you take pictures of running events, and with the pandemic and everything, with, you had like virtual events. I was wondering if you were like sitting out on your front lawn and when people run by, be like, "Hey, can I take your picture?"
Yeah, come on, $5. No, it's almost it's running. It's almost creepy, I would imagine, for the runners. Like, we're always hiding out in the corner when we're towards the end of the race, and
Yeah.
People are running in, they see us, and we just snap off shots. So we try to remain hidden so that you don't pose. We don't want to get pose shots.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work out that way.
I always got a weird vibe when I was on the soccer field with my kids, and I have a fairly simple camera, but I do have a telephoto lens, and and I'm out there, I'm at the Y, we're out on the field, I'm taking pictures of my kids, and I always get at least one parent that kind of looks at me like, "What are you doing? Who are you taking?" And I'm like, "I brought 4 kids with me. I don't have to explain anything. You ask any coach here and they go, "Oh yeah, we know the Mercers. Yeah, it's this one and this one. Yeah, sure." But it was always funny because I had the tele lens and it's not that big. It's only like I don't remember. Oops. But it's, I think it's 750 or something. It's only like that long. It's not big, but it's much better than just the standard lens 35 that came on it. But it's everybody's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just getting candid shots. I don't want anybody, don't worry about ducking when you go by. Just walk by and, I'll wait for you to get out of the way, whatever." But it's really kind of hard to be unobtrusive when someone notices you have a camera, for me at least, because it's not my phone.
It seems like this day and age, if you're not using your cell phone and you have a pro camera, it's like, what is he doing? Why does he have that?
Right. Right. And I get it. I love my phone. I really do. And it makes it so much easier for me to just, look at, just get this picture real quick. But I have to say, whenever I'm actually going to do, actually make photos. So that's my intent, is to get a lot of good pictures. Hands down, my camera is, and even though it's not the greatest camera in the world, it's still way better with just the flexibility of it and just the ability to just, no, I want this a little darker, or I need this a little lighter. Whereas your phone is just kind of like, click.
I feel like the camera though is starting to become that thing like, "Hey, what's this? Like, can you tell me what this is?" And it's like a cassette deck, or like, "Hey, like, what's this phone here that's got these dots?" Like, that's the kind of same thing with like cameras nowadays. Like, you show a kid a camera and they're like, "Wait a minute, like, what does this thing do?"
Yeah.
Rotary phone.
When my kids were really young, it was like, I had to make decisions. Do I bring the diaper bag or the camera bag? And I'm like, well, the camera bag, but if I could throw a diaper in there.
Better put a diaper in. It'll fit a diaper or two. And you just pad the camera. It's fine.
Yeah, my first diaper bag was my college camera bag. It was like an old Knopke, and I was like, I don't need this. So I liked it because the whole thing was designed to be able to reach in one-handed while it's on your side. It was great.
Nice. Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to kind of this question of, so when you got started in photography, like what brought you into it? How old were you, and what was your first camera?
So when I don't know how old I was, but my mother always had the 35 millimeters, automatic ones, and I just loved playing around with it. And then I had a cheap little 110 with the cartridge. And at one point or another, my parents bought me a Nikon. It was my first SLR. It was a 35 millimeter. And I think I liked the mechanical part of it more than the art side of it. I just liked the sounds. And then I realized I can do something with it. And most of my family is very artistic, and I can't draw to save my life. So I kind of used the camera to capture art and just make things up with it. And when I met my wife, she was she had a fashion company, and so they always had models coming by and magazine photographers showing up. So I was always hanging over the shoulder of these photographers, like, "Why are you doing that? And what's this? And what is that?" And so the curiosity just spun off from there.
That's cool. And what about you, Austin?
Yeah, I started in high school. First camera was a Pentax ME Super, just like a 35 millimeter. What was like just a consumer camera back in the 70s. I don't know. Fun story about that though is I thought I sold it off in college to buy gear, and then I found out I was complaining about it on Mother's Day just a few weeks ago, and my dad's like, "Wait, the Pentax?" I was like, "Yeah." And he disappeared for a couple minutes, and he came back out with his camera bag and his Pentax, which I don't know if you can see it, but it's like right there on the shelf.
Oh, that's cool.
Cool.
The battery case for the flash is eroded. Like, it's got that battery corrosion in there I got to clean out, but the camera itself still works. It's got a 15-year-old roll of film in it. So
gosh.
Yeah. But from there it was work for the college newspaper, and I was there when they were transitioning from film to digital, and so I got to learn to develop film, and then I transitioned to some of the first digital cameras, and then most of that was event stuff. I really enjoyed human interest, and my degree was in anthropology, so I kind of was able to marry a lot of that for a while. Bought my first digital with a loan from the bank for $2,000 and then paid it off through work with the newspaper. And
that's cool.
that was that. And then I graduated when McClatchy laid off a bunch of photojournalists. So when I went to go interview for jobs at newspapers, they were stacks of resumes from veterans. So I ended up in marketing after that.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. My first camera, I think, was I don't know. I like to borrow a lot of my mom and dad's cameras for a while. So like, I had the Polaroid, shake it camera.
Mm-hmm.
You can take the picture and shake it out, that kind of deal. And then we had I call it like a candy bar camera. So like, it's just a really long rectangular camera that had the kind of the two spools with the cross. It was all like plastic, and you shoved it in there, and basically you advanced it, every time you took a picture or whatever with your thumb, and had one of those for quite a while. And then I didn't move into like the digital camera, honestly, until, gosh, I think wasn't until like I met my wife like in 2004 that I finally got like a actual digital camera. And even then it wasn't like an SLR or anything. It was just a digital Kodak camera.
Right. Yeah.
But I've never actually owned an SLR. Like the one I have currently is one that me and a buddy of mine here in town, we borrow, or like we share it. He used to let me borrow it whenever I'd want to go do something, and got to the point where I kept asking to borrow it so much. He was like, "Why don't you just hold on to it, and if I need it, I'll call you,"
Nice.
Which has been super nice.
Yeah.
So that's what I have. It's a Nikon D3000, and it's got a couple different lenses to switch out of.
Cool. Mine, I had one previously. Now I'll tell you how old it was. It was digital. It was my first one. And it's probably 20 years ago or so. It had 3 megapixels. And I'm like, wow, this is the best. This is the clearest thing I've ever seen. It's the most amazing. Yeah. Which is, if anybody knows cameras, it's just garbage now. So, but I do have, and I feel like this is a legacy camera for me. I'm sure we all know Pat Jacobs. He's one of the dads in the National at-Home Dad Network. And I have his old camera, his Canon Rebel T3i, I think it is. And it's a DSLR. And while there are much better ones, and they're even the cheap better ones that are out now, as an example, we bought one for my sister-in-law, and she has kind of the same one, Canon Rebel, but hers has an automatic upload. So you just take a picture and boop, and it'll jump it to wherever, Instagram, photo, Facebook, wherever you want it. And mine has just cards, to take in and out. And I can sometimes, if I get enough cords, I can make it go straight to the laptop. But I have to say, the difference between just as small, really a step that is from the cameras that we have in our phones, is huge. And I really, really love having it. I treasure it, because it's just that ability to get in and go, well, I'm just going to switch this a little bit. Oh, they're going to turn the lights on the soccer field. Good. Well, I'll just back this down a little bit. And, the pictures come out just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
I have to say though, even though like I don't want to completely knock the cell phone, because there's that saying that the best camera is the one in your hand. And we just traveled last week for a funeral, and I wasn't about to bring my camera and everything, but the technology in these things is awesome. I got my kids on the Staten Island ferry and New York City in the background, and looking at these photos, and I'm like, all right, I didn't make any settings. I just hit the button, and they're not so bad.
Yeah.
And if you want, I will say, I don't know if you guys use the Adobe products, but Lightroom Mobile has got, I think at least for Android, which is what I use, its own camera app within it, which allows you to do manual, like as far as you can with that, like a digitally manual setting for it. So you can adjust ISO and shutter speed and all that stuff.
Good. Wow.
Which I don't use it as often as I thought I would, but it is nice when you're in some like odd lighting scenarios and you've just got your phone on you. It's a good way to kind of like tinker around. So I use it a lot camping. It was a good one for like campfire photos and what I could do at night, that kind of stuff. So. And
is that a paid app then?
I don't think the app is paid. But I also have the like photographer subscription through Adobe. So I don't know if it is tied to my Adobe Cloud account, which would allow me to use that without a charge. So what's the
name
free,
of it?
But it's LTR. I think it's Lightroom, Photo Express. They have a couple of apps, Adobe for Android and Apple. I forgot the engineer behind the Google Pixel cameras left Google and went to Adobe, And so everyone's kind of wondering what he's doing over there because he did awesome things for Google. So
yeah, the whole reason I bought a Pixel 3 was it was the camera.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's your, if, you know, I know like doing it professionally is one thing, but what's like your thing that you like to take pictures of? Like, where do you like just, you geek out on? Like if you do, Brett, like you said, the night skies, I think, is that something that you just really enjoy or that you found that you do well, easier?
It's something I enjoy because for years I would see these ridiculously awesome photos of the Milky Way. And I thought that's just like, you need millions of dollars of equipment. And then I started seeing that, you know, my camera will do it. There's software you can photo stack. There's different techniques. And I think for me, it's about the technique. Like if I can try this certain technique and get a result, like the photo in my background there's a little bit of the Milky Way in there. And I never would have thought I could do that. But I did that one summer with the family when we were at a cabin, and it just got me going. And now I just want to find the night sky and shoot it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we live near a city and it's hard. There's light pollution everywhere. So finding the right place is a challenge.
Yep. What about you, Austin?
My current passion. But I mean, give me time to get out there, I would shoot other things. I don't know what. It's the kids have like changed my interest a little there.
Yeah. Well, they kind of keep you from, well, I mean, they need attention. They need time. And sometimes the hobbies have to, you know, set back. So get that.
Yeah.
What about you, Austin? What do you like love to take pictures of?
So my like kind of passion project with photography has always been portraiture. I kind of tackled into the industry. I went through college with some like very talented photographers, and I remember I'm not that good. And while I might be as good as they are right now, by the time I get there, they're going to be far past me. And so I kind of learned the technical side of things and felt like I could do that really well. And then portraiture was an area where I felt like that's what I can exceed with. I can connect with somebody quickly and get to know them, and then apply a technical skill to kind of capturing who they are as a person and telling that story in a photo. And so that's kind of where I took that drive. And so, you know, if you look at my photos, you'll see like they're technically proficient. They're just not, you know, they're not winning awards, but that's where I feel like I connect and what I really like is taking time to get to know somebody, and within 10 minutes creating a photo that they feels like, you know, I would say like it's not a mugshot, it's not a headshot, because that's what you look like. I want to take a photo that's going to give somebody the impression of who you are.
Oh, that's cool.
And like so that's kind of where my draw is. And now that I work at a desk, like it's funny. I just had a discussion with some colleagues on like, how do I take that and then transition it? Because it's not really something I can do just walking out the front door. I really need to engage with the subject. And so finding personal projects is now the like big challenge for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last year, I had a buddy that here in town that decided, you know, hey, it's going to be difficult to take family pictures of people. And I think he had seen like somebody else on Instagram or something doing like the front porch pictures. And so he put it out there like, hey, if anybody is interested in doing front porch pictures, he's like, I'm going to put a big lens on the camera. He's like, I'm basically going to just like pull up. I'll direct you from the sidewalk. So he had a massive distance. I mean, like your whole front yard. And we basically sat there and he snapped, I don't know, like 15 or 20 pictures really quickly, and then edited them and sent them off to us. And, you know, I think we paid him like $50 or something like that. It was awesome. Like, it was just nice because it's like, all right, we weren't going to get pictures. Of course, you know, it was one of those days where our kids were not cooperating at all. So we've got awesome pictures of the kids, like completely acting bonkers. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's I find really neat. Is like, hey, like, all right, how do I pivot with what's going on? It sounds like kind of like that's what you're talking about a little bit there, Austin.
Yeah. And it's weird. I've always had work come to me, and now I have to go to the work, which is a bit different. So I've always had clients that have said like, you know, this is what we want. This is the goal we have for these photos. And for me to be able to take my talents and say, okay, how do we meet that goal? Now it's kind of like, I have to find the audience so I can develop work, but then developing that work and finding an audience is tough. Or I can figure out what the market would take and find a way to kind of craft to that. But again, everything along that process is self-generated, and that's new for me. That's not part of my creative process, and having to rewrite that process is going to be a unique challenge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so as far as like the skills that you guys have learned for your cameras, I know you mentioned that you did some things. Was it just classes like in college and high school, or how else did you learn the skills for taking pictures and that kind of thing? I guess we'll go with Brett.
Well, for me, I've pretty much been self-taught as far as the basic fundamentals of the camera. My wife put me like through some lighting seminars with professional photographers and studios, so I kind of got a sense of how to work with lighting and stuff. But I'd say, like, my first digital SLR, when it came out of the box, I told myself to put it in manual, and like the first 1,000 photos, like, just they were horrible. And slowly but surely, I started learning the relationship of aperture and ISO and exposure. And I guess I did it the hard way because I could have read the manual, but I had to just figure it out for myself. And it's interesting because my son just joined Scouts, and they're encouraging me to become a merit badge counselor. And I picked up the photography book, and I thought, there's a lot of things that I know, but I don't know if I actually know the technical term to things. So I'm going to read through this and see, kind of like test myself, see what I know and I don't know. So.
Cool. What about you, Austin?
Yeah, so it was funny. I learned most of what I needed in college, but I actually was not a photography student. I was an anthropology major through college. I worked with the newspaper, and that's where I did all my learning. So you would get assignments, go out and shoot, come back. Usually an editor would sit down with you and go through and critique, and, this is what you did well, this is what needs to be done better. And you would do those, on the daily, and within a few months, you'd gotten a firm grasp of things. And then it just became, learning from the upperclassmen on developing style and developing like a vision for a project. And then, as you moved up in the ranks, you were helping teach those below. So, when I left college, I was like, director of photography for student media, but my job was basically a, photography trainer. And then after college, like I was like, oh, great, I'm going to contact peers and we'll continue this process. And then that just dropped off a cliff. They're now working and they don't have time. And you are also now the competition. So I've done a lot of online classes. I found it's really helpful to take a class, watch what they're doing, and then try to take that and basically mimic that at home. And your results aren't going to look like what you got out of the class, but you will have learned something and you'll be able to self-critique at that point. So off-camera flash was a big learning curve for me the last several years. And so I went from, one speed light off the camera and learning how to use it, and then adding on to that for a second flash, and then building that out to now where I have like my own mobile studio kit and knowing how to work with like 3 or 4 flashes at a time, balancing that out. But it's that little incremental stuff that you're learning. Take a class, try it out, self-critique. Nothing I ever get out of that is a portfolio worthy photo, but it's definitely something where I learn a ton of it out. So.
Yeah, definitely. And there seems to be like a lot of online classes that are out there for doing that. And also like YouTube tutorials. I keep finding some pretty good ones to help me feel more comfortable holding my Nikon and trying to, set the lighting settings, different things like that. Stuff that I feel very unequipped sometimes. I know last Home DadCon up in Minneapolis, it was cool because myself, Pat Jacobs, Tim McMichael, and a couple other guys, like we actually got to use one of the rooms that was like a breakout room, and we set up like a studio and we were playing with like light painting and all kinds of stuff and just having a good time and like learning different like aperture speeds and stuff. And then from there, like we got to the point where like, well, let's go out and take pictures of the streetcar and get that shot. And so it was fun because I ended up getting some really cool shots of like the streetcar down there in Minneapolis, like going by like the Bob Dylan mural. But I took all that and I came home, and it was neat because here in Cincinnati, they have this festival called Blink, and it's this huge art festival that spans like a couple miles, and you just walk, and it's all light installations along the way, or different paintings. Like some people were doing like murals and stuff, but it was cool because like what I had learned, I was able to translate into taking pictures of some of these light things that if I had gone down with no information or, you know, any kind of skill level on it, they wouldn't have came out the same way. So it was fun to just be able to get that time with guys and just like learn hands-on stuff and then use it away from them and be able to be like, check these out. And everybody was so like, they were so supportive. They're like, oh, like you actually did really good on these. Like, and I had a couple guys who were like, hey, can I like, you know, reach out to you on the side and give you some personal critiques? I'm like, yes, please do. Like, what you got? So
personal, public, whatever. Just tell me what I'm doing wrong. So
right. Yeah. You can do it publicly. That's okay. Other people can learn off of my mistakes.
That's right. That's right. And I love too, and I'm like a lot like Brett. When I got my camera, someone told me, well, just flip it over to manual and see what happens. And I thought, okay, I'm a hands-on learner anyway. I learn most effectively by making mistakes, basically. I'll go in and go, oh, don't do that again. But it's digital at this point. So you have, you know, 1,000 photos. And if you mess all 1,000, you just erase them while they're gone. It's no problem. You just start over. And I really enjoyed being able to get in there and do that. And just, you know, instead of read the manual, flip it over to manual. And that's where I went. And then I went back and read the manual about certain things because I heard other photographers talking about it, other guys. And a lot of, like, we went on the photo tour in Minneapolis with Home Dad Con. And I learned so much just standing around listening to these guys or seeing what they were taking pictures of and how they were taking, why they were taking, and just the amazing things. I thought, well, why are you taking a picture of this? And then I looked at what they did and I went, oh, wow. And then they would tell you, well, you just do this and you flip the ISO to this and it'll do this. And it's like just an amazing difference between what they were seeing and able to capture and what I was seeing and able to capture. And to be able to stand with them and watch them, you know, do these amazing things for me was a huge help because one, it was the mechanical, you know, use of the camera. But the second part was seeing what an artist sees, because I'm not really an artist. I'm really more of, you know, I'm just kind of a ham hands with stuff like that. You know, I'm like, well, that looks good. Is that pretty? Oh, it's a click and we're good. You know, I want pictures of my kids. I want pictures of my kids moving and stuff. That's the, you know, the kind of photographer I am. So I'm not really, you know, useful, let's say, for instructing or anything like that. But I love the ability to just get in with it and just play around and see what happens, you know? So,
you know, that's what I liked when I was out in Portland for the con and we did the walk. And I guess there was 7 or 8, 10 guys. We're all doing the same walk. But when you saw the images afterwards, it was like, whoa, how did you do that? I was right there. It didn't look like that. You know, like, it's really cool to see their interpretation of things.
Yeah. And the ability the guys had to stop at a point, wait, everybody stand right here and stand right here and in front of this thing. And I'm like, why are we standing in front of this thing? And they would take these amazing pictures did you notice that the fire escape from this old brick building stopped about 2 stories down and they don't use it any longer. So they kind of shut it off, but it's still up there. And there's somebody's, you know, potted plants, or I can't remember what was on it, but it was like, wow. And you got that color bouncing off that red brick. And then all of us standing there in our goofy shirts and everything. And it was just like, okay, wow. Good job, buddy. Good job. You know? So Portland was great too. Yeah. But
I want to go ahead and add a disclaimer here, because I learned this lesson on the, like, not reading your manual. I just bought a new camera, and like every camera I've had, it's a basic camera. Even the new digital SLRs, you know, there's, you know, 5 or 6 controls. You may have some specialized stuff inside, and I'll custom map and things like that. But I mean, they're all the same. So, but I just bought a new camera, my like personal carry around. It's this one right here, the little Fujifilm one. And I was like, same thing. I don't even read the manual. And I was out one day and opened a menu, and I was like, what on earth are these? It's like, I'm used to like 5 or 6 different focusing modes, and there must have been like 20.
Wow.
And so I've gone back and started reading through the manual, because there's so many little hidden features in those things. Like it'll do facial recognition, not just for like when you're taking, you know, images and uploading them and making sure you tag them correctly, but like it will see like whose face is in the photo and then focus to that. And so I don't have to think, like, is my focus point on the eye? It's doing that for me.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a setting that you have to read about in the manual. And so if you're getting new cameras, read the manuals, because there's so much little hidden stuff in there.
Yeah. Good advice. Good advice for sure. Oh my goodness. Well, and you know, speaking about Home Dad Con stuff, so like Cincinnati, I'm really looking forward to showing everybody downtown Cincinnati, because just like a lot of cities, they've got tons of murals up, But the thing that I'm excited to really show everybody, and anybody who's into like architectural, like I think Brett, you said you're doing residential stuff or whatever, but it kind of probably falls in line with that, is like the German architecture and Italian architecture that's in the over the Rhine area, which actually is like the second oldest German neighborhood in the country, second to New York, some of their areas. But I mean, just walking around there, it's the same thing. Like lots of brick. You got ghost signs in different places, and just some amazing architecture and sculptures and stuff. And I mean, there's even a church that actually has a gold hand on the top of the steeple with it like as a fist and a finger pointing up, and it's called like a finger pointing up to God. But like just stuff like that, and there's tons of breweries with like just old buildings around. So I'm looking forward to just showing everybody around that portion of Cincinnati, because there's just so much to take pictures of.
And while I haven't signed up for it yet, I've been saying all year it's going to be, if I do it, like a totally last second thing, just because it's been a wild ride, and I don't want to make promises that I can't keep.
Yeah, you're all right.
I volunteered to speak, so like I'm engaged to speak at the conference. I still have not signed up yet.
I'd say you're on a panel, dude. You're there.
And having planned enough of these, I know how bad that is, and yet I still like, we'll end this call with me knowing I need to get this signed up, but within 3 seconds, I'm probably mind elsewhere. So
you're fine. That's what I have Nick for. He'll keep on you.
Yeah, and tell him like I'll be there. I need to get the hotel room reserved and get my tickets booked and stuff, but. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this year's, because I realized earlier, like the last convention I was able to do was Orlando. And before that I'd planned or been a part of the planning process for all the ones previous until like DC. And so I never really got a chance to take part in those pre-convention photo walks and a bunch of other stuff. So like this time around, I'm thinking like, I was going to carpool up with Matt Strain, but I think I may fly up there just so I can get there a little earlier and be able to take advantage of a lot of that pre-convention, like photo walks and like meet and greets and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to it so much.
I got if you come in on Tuesday, I got one spot left in the van to go on the Bourbon Trail on Wednesday.
Just saying.
Yeah. Tuesday's a little early. I was thinking like Wednesday late maybe. But.
Yeah, what are you going to be doing Tuesday? You're going to be getting ready to leave, right? You might as well just go ahead and be there. Come on.
I had bring your camera to the Bourbon Trail, and you could see your images change as the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this your shoe? I don't know, man. I thought it was pretty. We all take bad shots.
Yeah,
is this your shoe 10 times? What? Stop.
Some of those pictures are going to be what happens on the Bourbon Trail stays on the Bourbon Trail.
Funny enough with the shoes thing, I remember in college there was like a high level art photographer that put out a book that was all pictures of his feet. And the whole premise is back when you shot film, you would load it up, scroll it, and take a couple snaps before like you hit number 1. But no matter what, there'd always be a shot that was just a picture of your feet as you were advancing the film and clicking it off. And so this guy had saved like all those first exposures and made a book.
Wow.
All his feet in different places around the world. So
that's cool. That's actually
kind
really
of cool.
creative.
Yeah, that is very
That's creative. I mean, honestly, like what a great use of not wasting your film that you take. So
that was where I realized like I will never be that artistic and creative. I always look at stuff like that and just chuck it.
Well, there's a certain amount of where you need. I mean, because you can either be like. I think like kind of 3 different types of photographers. That we have someone that is like you, that's very technical. You have, and I've spoken to you in the past just briefly about other things, and it's always been more of a, your depth of understanding of the things that you're talking about has always been, kind of more the facts and figures of it. Not in a bad way at all, but you've always had that information, that technical. And then you get, someone that like myself, I don't have the technical aspect, but I have the passion. Like, yeah, let's take some pictures. I've always wanted to get really good shots of my kids while they were swinging on a swing, that look of joy of, and I'm always like, tick, 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 okay, I took 50. I didn't get one, but, it's fine. We're getting better, but I love that there's so many people that are into photography that bring all of these different abilities and skills and knowledge to the table, and they all produce amazing pictures, really, so.
Yeah. Definitely. That's the fun part, is trying to capture those moments or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I love having, a nice camera on my phone. Like that's, able to just snap things from time to time. Like my, with my wife working and stuff, it's nice to be able to snap pictures of the kids so that she can see what they're doing. Like I remember last summer we were out walking around, and at one point my kids were like holding hands, like walking down the sidewalk. And I'm like, holy crap, how do I not like get a picture of this, like snap a picture of it and like send it to my wife. And she was like, oh my gosh, like it's so cute. It's just like, how else you wouldn't have been able to, years ago, you probably wouldn't have had your camera with you to be able to even do anything like that. So I really find I take a ton of pictures with my phone. And I really enjoy it. And what's interesting too is like, Instagram has really revolutionized, I feel like, taking pictures and how you do some of that. Like the people who were like not on there to be all like, look at me, but the ones who are actually like trying to do some fun stuff and take pictures, like I feel like you can learn some really neat things. Like one time I was on there and someone was like, hey, like, have you ever been like around a really tall building and you're trying to like lean back and like get the shot and you're really awkward trying to take it, or you're like on the ground like tilting your camera up? And he was like, all you have to do is turn your camera sideways, put it on panoramic, and just go up, and you capture the whole building. And he like shows the picture afterwards. I'm like, holy crap. Like my mind just was like blown. I'm like, this is game changing for me, for like being able to take pictures downtown of like the building. That's awesome. It's so cool.
Yeah, the camera can do that rather quick, and where the SLR, you have to bring it home, throw it in Photoshop, yell at it a few times, and then hopefully something comes out.
I never understood that either. Like, why is it my camera can have a native panorama shot and it does it like just my little point and shoot compact can do it, but then if I take it and I shoot it with my my Mark III or something like that, and then bring it back, and Photoshop will have a heart attack. Processed.
Yeah, it blows it out. Like, no, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, but it takes 40 minutes before it's finally processed just to see that it did it wrong.
Oh man,
nice.
So, do you, when it comes to taking pictures of your family, do you have fun like trying to just like get them to, like, I know for me, like I'll put my phone on a tripod, try to take pictures of people, or try to take pictures of my family, and the kids are all like everywhere. You're like, come on, like let's just get one good picture, please, but they won't do it. You're like, what are you gonna do?
The thing that bothers me is that we don't really have any recent family photos, and I have a friend of mine who has a photography business, and he's offered several times to, either shoot at a discount or shoot for free. And I'm like, yeah, we'll get to it. And it's like that whole, what do they call it? The shoemaker's kids never have any shoes. And I'm like, we just don't have any good family photos.
Nice.
So I need to work on that somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say, like, I approach it with two things. Like, I'm trying to approach it like a journalist style, where I'm trying to do candid, which is where I try to like discreetly pull the camera out and take photos when my kids are doing something cute, so that they don't know I'm engaging. Because once they know, they're going to turn around and cheese it up and act goofy. And then the other approach is to just get them numb to it. So take so many photos that eventually they get tired of being cheesy and just go back to being normal. And that tends to be like my two ways to get it. Now, doing like posed photos, I've only done that every other year or so, just because that is such a nightmare. And even then, we try to just make it more like do something candid underneath this lighting setup, so that we can get something that looks professional and is mildly posed. But yeah, the discretion of the camera phones is what really helps with that, is because I can do that without them ever knowing, and then show it to them later and they love it.
Mm-hmm.
Having a 200 millimeter lens on your camera is kind of hard to be discreet. I found that.
Like hiding in the bushes at the kids' games, a little creepy.
I got it.
My family, we always do, and my wife could not understand this at first, because her family is very, no, good picture, get the good picture, and her mom is famous for demanding the good picture or whatever. And I always do a goofy face. It's like, let me see your goofy faces. What do you got? Stick your tongue out, whatever you do. Just get all crazy. Like, okay, normal faces and a smile. And it gives them a second to just blow out all that goofy energy. And then they go back to it. But no matter what, I mean, we've got four kids, so 5-6 people in the picture usually. Every single time there's one of them that's just a little either just weird looking, I love my kids, but just one's like, is that one going to kill people later? Because what's on that face? Like, let's go on this or whatever. But or the one that's just absolutely knows you're taking the picture and waits for that second and goes, and sticks her tongue out or something. So
that's why motor drive.
Really get it.
Just like hold it down and let it just motor drive its way through for a couple seconds.
Nice. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. So
yeah. The other thing, go ahead. Oh, I was just going. The other thing I was going to say was, have you guys got? I think Danny and I were talking about this before the show, but are both of you into drone photography, or is it just one of you?
Yeah, I went out and bought a.
You did,
drone.
Okay, Brett. Yeah.
Actually, I've bought two because I crashed one into a tree, so now I'm on my second one. I also crashed into a tree, but I saved it, so I'm okay.
This one
what do you fly? Is it a Mavis or?
It's the Mavic Pro. It's it's like the first of the Mavic Pros, and I'm eyeballing the Air 2S, but then I keep asking myself why. They've been improving the camera, and the Mavic Pro has a good camera, but right after the Mavic Pro came out, the cameras got a lot better. And
wow.
There's only so many sunset shots I could take of it, and I just want to see them look better. But it's a lot of money.
We said with real estate too, because the guy because we're looking to sell our house, and one of the first things he asked is because he's been to our house. He said, I'd really like to get my drone out there as soon as possible, as soon as all the blooms come in. So because we've got about a 1/4-mile driveway, through the woods, and we're way back here. And he's like, if I could just get that shot, if you don't mind coming in and taking it, and then we're going to go over it as well. And I'm thinking, this is mind blowing to me. I mean, I understand drones. I know, photography, and I understand this happens. That's not the part of it, but that it's just almost so common now. And he said, if we're going to sell your house, this is how we're going to do it. Is just get that drone in there to do it. And he's paid the money to have that drone, for himself. And it was he said it's really been worth it for the sales that he's gotten off it. I think it's a great investment.
Yeah. Do you have one, Austin? I know that you were at Dad 2. You got to fly one in New Orleans a few years ago.
Yeah, that was so that actually changed my mindset on drones. I built my own. I had two that I built. So one was like a large. My thought was eventually I'd be able to put like a GoPro or like some form of like higher def camera on the bottom as a payload. And so I built one. And it's been collecting dust the last couple of years because I just needed to make some upgrades and never got around to it. And then we went to Dad 2 in New Orleans, and we got to fly the Mavics. And I realized no matter how much money I could put into something I could build, it'll never be able to come out as a good quality as what comes off the shelf with the Mavics. And so I've got some money set aside for a Mavic 2, whatever the one is. It's got like a 40 megapixel camera on it.
Wow.
And I'm holding on to that, just thinking I don't have any need for it right now, so I don't want to buy it. But I think with personal projects, I might have a few. But it's weird when you want to make that commercial, because there's a lot of restrictions. And if you're doing real estate, it's a fairly straightforward process, because getting permission to fly over real estate that you're paid to shoot is usually pretty easy. But if you're going to do personal projects and shoot scenery and landscapes and stuff, there's a little bit more involved in finding that permission. And there's a lot of, blacked out areas around me because we're in a already populated zone. We've got several airports nearby. And so I'm on the fence about it, but I really want to, it's amazing how cheap they are now. It's like $800.
Part 107 or whatever, the licensing, the commercial licensing.
Yeah, and I've got I've got like a recreational license from like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's still good, but I want to do the commercial one, and testing for that, I don't want to deal with it right now. But I really, really, really want that little Mavic too, because it's amazing, especially compared to what I could spend and build my own. It's like night and day different.
Nice. So before we close up tonight's show, I want to get a piece of advice from each of you guys as far as like what would be a piece of advice you'd give to, you're running up to a dad who's just like, I just want to get good shots or whatever, kind of thing. Like what's a piece of advice that you would give to that dad that's just trying to kind of maybe get into the photography world? We're going to start with Austin.
I think you kind of touched on it earlier. The best thing you can do is shoot a lot and get critiques. That's how I learned through college. I was able to learn a lot without having to go to a class, because I had somebody who was, my veteran, or my, upperclassmen at the time who could take a look at what I was doing and tell me how I could do it better. The more you do it, the better you'll get, or the faster you'll get better. And so take a lot of shots, find a community that can give you some honest feedback, and then move on with it. And I think learning one thing at a time is easier than trying to attack photography in this idea that you've got to learn it all at once. So learning one niche, learning one specialty that you really enjoy, and then moving on from that and build on it, or moving on to something different.
Nice. I like that. What about you, Brett?
I would say everything he just said there, absolutely. And when shooting your kids, because assuming it's a dad, they're going to want to shoot their kids, get down low, get that lens at eye level with them, because you want them to be big. When you shoot down, they look small, and you want to make it about their world. And that's always been my thing. I shoot on my knees like 90% of the time, and I don't care if I get mud on them. I want that shot. So shoot low.
That's a really good piece of advice, like getting down on the same level as your kids for that, for sure.
And if I can just kind of like echo on that, the one thing that also does is when your audience is looking at your photos, they're going to see the world from a different perspective in that way. Like that's how your kids view the world. But when you're able to capture that, you're able to kind of create an art form that is like, this is the world of a 3-year-old. Mm-hmm. This is how they see it. And this is how I can interpret that and envision it in a way that like most adults don't see. So I wish I had said that first, because that's really good advice.
You explained it so much better. I'm just like, shoot low.
No, that's amazing. Yeah.
No, that's great. Well, and I think, what you were talking about where it's like find a community, Austin, there's a subgroup that's not like part of the National At-Home Dad Network. I think photographer that's a stay-at-home dad just built it, which is the Stay-at-Home Dad photography group that's there, which has been something where I think that's where I met Brett actually was in there. Yeah. And it's fun because it's a safe place to hear that critique and feedback from different guys. And there's some amazing photographers in there that's like, there's no way I'll be at your level, but it's great to get to see your shots. Like they're super cool.
Yeah.
So that's always fun to do as well. Danny, you got any final thoughts tonight?
No, I never have thoughts. I'm good. Good job, guys. Take more pictures.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show, guys. It was a blast to get to talk about photography. I'm hoping, I know Austin's already going to be in Cincinnati, so I'm excited to get to see him in October. Brett, hopefully things work out and you get to make it up as well.
We'll get the ball rolling and see if we could do it. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yep.
So
party starts Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll be there with time to talk this time. So
there you go. Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be a very fun event. We should be hopefully by July getting a schedule out to everybody, which will be really early. So, but we've got speakers lined up. We'll start getting those announced here really soon, and it's getting exciting. So I'm really happy to be able to have everybody here in my home area and get to show everybody around. And so if you haven't gotten a ticket yet and you're listening to this and this sounds like something you'd want to get involved in, go to athomedad.org and you can see what the National At Home Dad Network's up to. And if you want to come to Home DadCon, go to homedadcon.org and register, get your hotel room, and we'll see you in October. Yeah. But other than that, thanks for listening, and we will be back next week, and Danny will be on with, I think it'll be me actually, for one more show before I take off to the West.
Yeah, you said you had one more, man. Don't be leaving early.
One more. That's right. I won't leave you early. So one more show, and then it's Danny, and he's on his own after that. So, but hey, thanks, and everybody have a good day.
Good night, everybody.
I'm a dad, that's what I do.